Carolina to the SEC, another Carolina in the SEC. Welcome in to the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you stopping by for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. Please like the video and subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. We were checking out our video archives. It was 3 years ago this month that folks were reporting North Carolina to the SEC, and we did a number of breakdowns. Please check them out. Some of that information will be included here. North Carolina to the SEC. Why Carolina over the likes of Florida State and Clemson? Well, first and foremost, flagship school of the state of North Carolina. Prime territory, population shift there to that portion of the country. And a great institution, basketball power, and potential football power. Let's break down the numbers of how North Carolina is stacked up over recent history, both against the SEC and everybody else. Well, North Carolina against the SEC did not play in 2024, will not play an SEC school in 25 or beyond, except for a home-and-home against South Carolina in 2028 and 2029. Future non-conference opponents centered around, of course, Notre Dame with the ACC contract, TCU, Purdue, and North Carolina is only fully scheduled out through 2028. North Carolina football should be better. It's been just a smidge over 500 for a long, long time. Mac Brown did a fine job, but since then, again, marginal football, and we're talking about Mac Brown version 1.0, the original, 74-67 during the college football playoff era. Just 7 games over 500, only 2 top 25 finishes. Those came in 2015 and 2020 at number 15 and number 18 in the country. The highest we have seen North Carolina football in a top 25 poll was way back in 2015 when they just barely cracked the top 10. And keep in mind, in regards to those seasons that they were ranked in the final poll, they were ranked in the preseason poll 5 times. They advanced to 2 ACC championship games. They came up a loser both times. They've not won the conference since back in the early 1980s, circa Lawrence Taylor, and North Carolina failing in postseason play at 1-8. And North Carolina playing in the lackluster ACC has not exactly faced the toughest competition in only going 74-67. Carolina did not even face a ranked team at kickoff in 2024, including a bowl game in which they finished at 6-7. Get this, Carolina 8-21 in the college football playoff era against ranked teams, and all of those wins against ACC competition. When they step out against primarily the SEC, but also other conferences and non-conference play against ranked teams 0-8. You've got to go all the way back to 1997 to find a North Carolina win against a ranked team at time of kickoff, a 1997 win against number 17 Stanford. Now let's check out how North Carolina's fared against the SEC going back 20-plus seasons. Recent history, let's look at it. Tons of games against South Carolina, and I like this out-of-conference matchup. It should be played on a regular basis, and it pretty much is. In 2023, North Carolina had 11 sacks out of a bad defense in this game against Spencer Rattler and won 31-17 against a South Carolina team that fell to 5-7. Of course, UNC finished at 8-5. They played in 2021 in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Now, South Carolina won that game for Shane Beamer, 38-21, and North Carolina finished at 6-7. Take it back to 2020, and an Orange Bowl appearance. So North Carolina's never won a major bowl game. They had a shot against Texas A&M, but they were missing Sam Howell, their 2 best wide receivers, their 2 best running backs. They lost by 2 touchdowns to a 9-1 Texas A&M team in 2020. The win against South Carolina in 2019, that was Sam Howell's first game. And that North Carolina team was much improved from the 2 previous Larry Fedora teams and finished 7-6. Go back to Kirby Smart's first season at Georgia. That was his first game, and they beat North Carolina 33-24. Both teams finished at 8-5. Then you see a couple more South Carolina games, 2015, 2013 against Steve Spurrier. And that bunch in 2015, of course, Will Muschamp, a 3-9 South Carolina team, won 17-13 in the opener against a North Carolina team that eventually made it to the ACC championship game. A loss to Mizzou, who was not in the SEC at the time in 2011. Lost to LSU, a really good LSU team that, of course, went to the national championship game the year after. That game played in Atlanta, 30-24 final. That same season in 2010, North Carolina defeated Tennessee in the Music City Bowl by a field goal to finish at 8-5. There you see the records of the SEC competition. 2007, a loss against South Carolina, 21-15. Then games against Texas and Oklahoma, so you got to credit North Carolina's scheduling here, going out of conference and getting bludgeoned by a top 10 Texas team by 31 points and by 2 touchdowns against a top 10 Oklahoma team in 2001. And then they also played Texas in 2001 as well, got blown out by 30, but they also had a win against Auburn, 16-10 in the year 2001. Add it all up, we've got North Carolina with 4 wins, 11 losses against the SEC, 2-4 against South Carolina. They did play 7 ranked teams out of those 15 games. The North Carolina teams were pretty good. We just saw the Big Ten comparison. Check out the video. 109-84 were these North Carolina teams taking on SEC teams that were slightly better at 118-69. So you see the winning percentage differential. You also see the point differential. So not only is North Carolina losing the games at 4-11, they lost by 138 points on the scoreboard. Actually, there's no Alabama here. The last time the Heels took on the Tide, they actually won the game. 1993 CarQuest Bowl. Because of North Carolina's lackluster season in 2024, they did not see network television as much as they typically do. Only 6 games on ESPN/ABC. That number will skyrocket this season with Bill Belichick at the helm, of course, starting out with a Labor Day night home date spotlight game, primetime against TCU. But 6 games in 2024 drew just over 1 million per game at 6.1 million. Now, North Carolina, we tracked their viewership going back to 2021 at about more in the 10 million range with more games on network television. They were, again, relegated to the ACC network many times in 2024. In terms of television markets, Charlotte's number 21 in the country, Raleigh-Durham right there at 22, and Greensboro, Winston-Salem is a top 50 market. Let's break it down a little bit further in terms of what North Carolina has in a number of categories stacked up against its ACC competition when looking at realignment. We tracked this in 2021, and it pretty much holds up. Football historically, though, you raise Florida State to the top. Miami fans will take issue here with more national championships. I'm not counting national championships. I'm counting consistent winning. And both of these programs, Florida State and Miami, emerged in the early 80s. Florida State a few years before Miami. And Florida State has been more consistently great, elite, or good than Miami has. Certainly, Miami slipped off in the 2003, 4, and 5 range. And if really, aside from 2017, not been heard from since. Florida State has only slipped in the last 5 seasons. Clemson at number 3, a top 15 to 20 program, as I had mentioned, historically, and one of the elites in college football currently. Georgia Tech, historically, if you want to look at the entirety of college football history, has a strong, strong tradition, but of course, it's been difficult to win there, and they claim a 1990 national championship. North Carolina, Virginia. North Carolina has certainly been much more successful than Virginia. Virginia's been one of the worst football programs in the country historically, and so we place them easily at number 6. Now, when we look at market size, Atlanta's number 1, top 10 market. Miami's 2. I put North Carolina at 3 because of the conglomeration of all the TV markets in North Carolina that are solid, ranging from Charlotte all the way through Greensboro and Raleigh-Durham. Georgia Tech, of course, tied to the Atlanta market. Clemson at number 5, even though there's not an immediate TV market right there. They're in the middle of a number of strong television markets. And then we've got Florida State at number 6. Tallahassee's the 108th television market. Let's look at recruiting. Not how good these programs recruit, but how much will this area benefit the conference that takes that program in? Miami's number 1. Atlanta and Georgia Tech at number 2, even though I had noted that Atlanta produces more NFL players than just about anywhere.
the entire South Florida region is just cannot be competed with. So we go Miami 1, Georgia Tech 2. Florida State would bring the rest of Florida to a certain extent, and Southern Alabama and Georgia. Virginia's a strong recruiting ground. Clemson, South Carolina, of course, but it's the Clemson program more than anything that brings all of the South to a certain extent. Again, this is a rough general rating of what these programs would bring to the rest of the conference through their addition in recruiting. And North Carolina, number 6, certainly that is not a number 6 or last ranking because of lack of strength from North Carolina. That just means that this 6 are stacked in recruiting. They all are a huge plus to whatever conference brings them in, especially the Big Ten. And then academically, again, they are all strong, especially the top 5. Clemson lagging a bit behind the others, but Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia Tech, all stout, as is Miami and Florida State, all tremendous schools. I got to admit, it surprised me somewhat that Florida State and Miami are ranked dead in a dead heat tie academically. All right, that's our look at the ACC candidates for the Big Ten or the SEC. Of course, geographically, they make more sense for the SEC, especially the Florida schools and Clemson, but the academic prowess of many of these schools, pretty much the entire list, bodes well for connection to the Big Ten. And of course, the Big Ten challenging the SEC as they continue to punch, counterpunch here in a war of attrition in college football. Leave your comments below. We'll talk it up right here at the Voice of College Football. See you next time.